There has been quite the controversy around Pokemon Home these last few months, and things just got a lot more heated when the Pokemon company itself made a mistake on the date we would get Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet compatibility, announcing it on the 24th of May instead of today, the true date, May the 30th. It's easy to see why people would be mad, considering that the Gen9 games have been out for over half a year, and well, because this isn't the first time it has happened. What's going on here? Well, this nobody of a PokeTuber will tell you his opinions, so hey, I'm not so ace trainer, and what about Pokemon Home? Let's get into it. Pokemon Home is the spiritual successor of Pokemon Bank, the app that graced our 3DS and that people fondly remember as actually being on time, and for the most part, they're right. This app released on the 3DS 3 months after the release of Pokemon X and Pokemon Y, with future patches for Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire happening 3 days before the release of the games. Then with Sun and Moon, a delay happened that caused the patch to be released 2 months after the Gen 7 games, though it also brought Pokemon Green, Red, Blue and Yellow connectivity, and finally, as the last hurrah for Pokemon Bank, the patch for Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon was released 3 days after the release of the games, with connectivity for Gold, Silver and Crystal as well. So, needless to say, we had it really good. If you're watching this right now, you probably have access to Pokemon Home already, since today is the release day. Well, tomorrow is the release day because I'm recording this yesterday, but you get the point. Still, the Gen 9 games have been out for way longer than any delay of the past. And this is not a Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet thing. The app was released on the Switch on February 12, 2020. When this happened, we had 2 games already on the Switch, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, as well as Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield. This was followed by Day 1 compatibility with both DLC for the Gallet games, Isle of Armor on June 17th and Crown Tundra on October 22nd. So, apart from a few bugs here and there, we had a really good start. But as we all know, the good start didn't really carry over to the following games, and that's when the controversy kinda started. Compatibility with BDSP and Pokemon Legends Arceus came on the 18th of May 2022. Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl were released in November 19th, 2021, and Pokemon Legends Arceus was released on the 28th of January 2022. So pretty much 6 months after the release of BDSP and 4 months after the release of Legends Arceus, we could finally move Pokemon. And what happened between these things? Well, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet were already announced. We had connectivity with Pokemon Home released 6 months after the release of BDSP and 6 months before the release of Scarlet and Violet. And now, as I mentioned before, over 6 months after the release of the Gen 9 games, we finally will have access to Pokemon Home. There are many reactions to these delays, and I have talked to a lot of people during this time about Pokemon Home and those delays, and some are really angry and others, well, others just don't care. And I think I'm kind of in the middle. Those who are angry simply say that it should be there from the beginning and they want their Pokemon from there. They pay for the service and they want it. I think that's fair. You're entitled to get angry as long as you don't become one of those weirdos who sent death threats to Game Freak because their favorite fictional character wasn't available in their games. Now, those who don't care, they justify it with what Game Freak's vision probably is. They don't want their new Pokemon not being used in favor of the old ones, and so they let the new Pokédex simmer a little bit until they open the Pokemon Home floodgates. Now, as for myself, like I said, I am in the middle. I understand both of these points of view, but I believe this should be in the game from the beginning. This should be available as the game comes out, or at least a few days later. Though I also understand Game Freak wanting new Pokemon to have their competitive spotlight, but there's a really easy fix for that. They already have allowed and banned Pokemon, so they could just go for the Generations Pokédex being the only ones allowed to be in competitive for the first few months. People could use the rest in non-ranked battles, and the ranked battles simply had a different format, just like they already do. This approach to Pokemon Home would not only stop controversy, but also allow players to have a choice. And just like I mentioned in the past with EXP Share having the on and off toggle, choice is always a good thing. Players who want to use only new Pokemon during their playthroughs, like myself, they can do it. But those who want their old partner by their side or something like that, well, they can do that too. One does not affect the other. Now comes the more controversial part of my thoughts. I am also pretty fine that in this specific instance, Pokemon Home for Scarlet and Violet took longer than expected. These games had a bug. A rare one, a very rare one, but a save-deleting bug. And as someone who shiny hunts, I was very afraid for my collection and I wanted to put my Pokemons in Pokemon Home, of course. But thinking things through, who's to say that this wasn't a connectivity problem? People said it wasn't related to Pokemon Go, but we never got an answer, just a fix. And so, I'm not mad as long as this comes out without any game-threatening bugs. But it also shows us the underlying issue with Pokemon ever since we got to the Switch. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Pokemon Shining Pearl were developed by ILCA, the same people behind Pokemon Home. And just like Pokemon Legends Arceus and Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet, both developed by Game Freak, they looked like they needed some extra time in the oven. In fact, all of the latest titles looked like they needed some extra time in the oven. The development of mainline Pokemon games in general, at least apparently, keeps suffering from the timelines imposed on them by either themselves or the franchise itself. They were divided in two as they developed both Legends Arceus and Scarlet and Violet, both the most ambitious titles they ever released. And at the time, ILCA assisting with BDSP was such big news that people could barely believe it. Game Freak actually asked for help. What I mean is that these strict timelines would never affect something like a spin-off, like for example new Pokemon Snap. But when it is an app that is connected to the mainline games, I'm sure these crazy release dates and constant patches to fix bugs, sometimes even very serious bugs, is taking its toll not only on those main games, but on Pokemon Home as well. And that is all I have for you today. While I think that Pokemon Home connectivity should come out as the games come out, I fear for the performance of both the app and the games. I think this is an issue that, without a doubt, runs a lot deeper than it seems. But what about you? Would you wait an extra year for a Pokemon game? Let me know in the comments down below. And now, like the video if you like it, dislike if you don't, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more Pokemon content and also ring the bell so you know when the next video is out. You can follow me on social media and Twitch. I stream there Wednesday to Sunday, not Saturday, or join our Discord. All the links are in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.